All right, migration and population, also titled, Yo, People Move Around and Stuff. All right, so some causes of migration. One, we got push factors. Two, we got pull factors. Push factors are usually negative, poor economic conditions, warfare, droughts, famine, pestilence, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Pull factors, these are positive, right? Better quality of life, economic opportunity, educational opportunity is also in there. Other kind of things people think about religious freedom. Sometimes there's a demographic imbalance going on, whether it's overpopulation, sex ratios, just, you can't find a job, right? Economic job availability, a land of plenty. That's talking about America. You got environmental factors, disasters, natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, derechos, all of those things. Um, Political persecution, conflict, war, civil war, Syria, also known as hell on earth. All right. U.S. immigration. We've had peaks in immigration to the United States that reflected changing circumstances on a global scale. And if you look at this little chart, we got some Germans, some Italians, some great British people, all of these things. Now, in America, some of our biggest migrations, all right, both from external sources and internal sources. One, from the 1700s to the mid 1800s, we got people coming in to farm, all right, to like to the mid 1800s, we got people coming in to farm, and then from like the 1870s to like 1910, we got these immigrants who moved to the urban areas. And then we got this thing called the Great Migration. Write that down, the Great Migration, which is African Americans moving from the South, where they were sharecroppers, up to the North to work in manufacturing hubs like Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, things like that. And then, you know what? This is not in the book, but I'm going to count it. We have Hispanic immigration starting in World War II with the Bracero program. And that still kind of goes on today, but not as much as what people sometimes make it out to be. And then we also have this movement called the Sun Belt, where people in the north move down to the south to work at different manufacturing centers there that have now come about. All right. Then we got forced migration. Refugees. These are people who move across an international border because of war or a disaster. All right. And there are tons of these in the world today. There's more refugees in the world today than ever. We have the conflicts that have gone on in the Middle East for the last decade that have created refugees, both internal and external. We have there's this group called the Rohingyas who are in Myanmar who are Muslim, and basically the Myanmar military came to their villages, killed all the men, took the babies, bashed their heads in on rocks, and like tried to rape and kill all the women. It's just nuts. Yet internally displaced people, people forced to migrate, but they don't cross the international border. Some Iraqis, some Afghanis fall into this category. And then you got asylum seeker, someone who has migrated to another nation in hopes of becoming a refugee. I have to sneeze. Oh, Nelly Billy Willy Chili. America used to really welcome asylum seekers. We don't do that so much anymore. Good question for you. Should we or should we not? We will discuss that later. Yeah, well, it's not COVID, it's allergies, people. All right. Transnational migration. This is a movement, a settlement across the international border. They build multiple networks of connections to their country of origin, such as importing in, Persian rugs from Iran. You have transhumanists, which are seasonal animal herders. This is like, like sheep herders in like Argentina, caribou lovers that are in like Sweden. And then you got guest worker programs, which like basically support our agricultural industry in the West. All right, voluntary migrations. Internal migration is a permanent move within a country, all right? You got interregional movement from one area to another, northeast to the south, to the south, to the west to the middle west, all of those things. And you got interregional movement from region of a country, rural to urban or urban to rural. For like that one, like my family, we did a interregional one where we moved from Waterloo to Charles City because of jobs. Now you have a thing called chain migration. We can see this in Charles City. We see this happen both internationally and nationally, where groups of people come in and then they're like, hey, cousin, why don't you come in? And just keep building it from there. You also have what's called step migration, which is a series of short ones, less extreme migrations from a place to a place. Good example of this is the Hmong people who are from Western Vietnam, Eastern Cambodia. They helped us in the Vietnam War. They then had to do a step migration where they went to, I think it's Thailand. And then from there, then they moved to the East Coast of America. And then from there, then they were placed, in Minnesota. The school I went to in West Des Moines, we had people from the Congo, from Sudan, tons of different places. Minneapolis also has a strong population of Somali immigrants. And then also you got the rural to urban, urban to suburbs, suburbs to urban, urban to rural, rural to the unurban, urban suburb, burbs. All right, obstacles to migration. All right, this is probably distance. You also could have, say, environmental obstacles like the Mediterranean Sea. There's a lot of people who drowned in that nowadays. Or political features such as Hungary building up a huge border wall because they're like, we don't want the Middle Eastern people to cross our area. Transportation has limited some of these obstacles. You can fly anywhere you want. You can get on a little jet ski and go across the ocean, and different stuff. For this slide, what I want you guys to do is I want you to click on the link, consequences, I said consecrations, but it's consequences of migration. I want you to read the article, and then in your notes, I want you to write down the positives and the negatives, pretty please. All right, changes in population have long and short-term effect on a place's economy, culture, and politics. I'm going to talk like a Southern gentleman the rest of the slideshow, if you don't mind. So, population policies. One, we got now pronatalism. This is policies that encourage reproduction. That's also known as giving birth, if you don't know what that there means. A good example of this is France, Sweden, Norway, Finland, where they give people long maternity and paternity leaves because they're like, we want you to have more babies. Like Sweden has this famous thing called a baby box. All right, write down baby box, where they literally give everybody this little box, man. And it's got all the stuff you need for the first month of having a little munchkin coming around. Then you got anti-natalism. These are policies that discourage reproduction. A great example of that's China, where they're like, you get one kid. You get only one kid. And just like, I think it was 2 years ago, they changed that to having 2 kids. I want you now to watch this here video. It's titled, India's Deadly Secret, Gendercide in India. So yes, it's about gender and something they kind of notice. Think about how that's going to mess up their population pyramid, people. Population pyramid. Now, one thing I want you to ponder is fertility rates. And that's women having babies. And I want you guys to take a moment, write down what your plans are for after high school. And I want you to think about like when you might want to have kids. Now, how does that translate to like your parents? I don't know because like I don't know your parents. But I want you to ponder the idea of fertility rates and when you want to have children. And when we come back to class, we're going to discuss how that looks in the big picture of America and said world. All right. I lost the Southern accent there for a bit. Ravenson Laws of Migration. He's got 7 basic ideas that highlight certain rules that happen. 1, most migrations are short distance. Okay. 2, most migrations go to urban areas, both intra-regional and interregional. 3, they're multi-steps. You just don't do one thing. I talked to you guys about how my family moved up here to Charles City. How that first start, I had a job in Charles City. My wife had a job in Waterloo. You know, we moved from Colorado back to Iowa. You know, so we had to get the first house we could get. Then after a couple of years, we started looking for houses here. My wife got a job here. We started looking for houses here. A lot of times it is rural to urban. Then you also have a counter migration. Think about it this way. At one point, we used to have way more Hispanics who migrated to America, and now some of those Hispanics have migrated back to the countries of Latin America that they came from. Second, most international migrations are, let me blow my nose, are connected to young males moving, which is why sometimes people are like, oh my God, they're coming to take us over. Does it really happen? I don't know, because then they like marry into the population, they bring over their wives, and they're like, all I want to do is raise my kids, dude. I don't know if they cry like that. And then you got gender patterns, all right? Short migrations usually have also a big women connection to it. The farther they are, the more it becomes males moving. If you look though at some like migrations that have been done recently from the Middle East to Europe, that is just whole families moving. The distance is a little bit shorter, but some of the obstacles that they have to go through are insane to make that happen. One thing that you got to think about when we think about population is an aging population, and the world's population is aging significantly. Not like, you know, next year it's going to be like, but, you know, 20 years from now. So you got fewer people are being born, less people are dying, people are living longer. Now, implications, social, it changes roles, right? You know, you guys are going to be taking care of like me forever because I'm going to live to 140, all right? Pardon me, I didn't know if you heard that. Wait. There is an increased cost for society, government programs, taxes, increased pressure on that labor force, that crazy dependency ratio. People 0 to 15, people 64, 65 and over. And political, it's the increased gray power, development of pro-natalist policies. Here's an idea. In America today, millennials control something like 4% of all economic wealth, and the baby boomers control 55%. It's nuts! And that is the end of said slideshow. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one. Be cool. Awesome sauce. Later.